In this video, I'm going to show you how you can create your own custom payment method to further customize the checkout process. So creating a custom payment method is actually quite simple. We start out by adding a payment method model in our module. In our example, we're going to be creating an in-person payment method so that people can pay for our events when they arrive. All payment methods need to extend from a Mage Payment abstract class. So in that abstract class, you can see there's a lot of properties and functions to inherit. The properties provide a way for you to easily pivot on certain booleans. For instance, can this order be refunded? Can you use the checkout internally, which means the admin interface? Can you use the checkout, or can you use this payment method in the checkout, which means the front-end interface? And a variety of other booleans that you can specify as properties to your overridden class. So one that you do need always is code. So in our case, our code is in person, all lowercase. So you can see there's a lot of Boolean functions that simply return the properties. These are used throughout mostly the Magento sales module to tell if the payment can actually process the order. And one of the things you can use these for is if your logic isn't simple yes or no for your payment method, you can use the function, you can override that in your custom payment method to make it conditional. So like maybe you can only use this, you can only refund certain product types or certain payment methods that came in with specific data. You can use the function to kind of conditionally switch that on and off. So one important function to kind of help you understand how the payment methods work is the isAvailable function. So you can see that at some point in this function, there's a method or an event that's dispatched. The payment method is active. You can use this to extend other payment types, and maybe you want to disable one for the front end, but keep it active for the admin interface, like a check money order. You don't want people paying with check money order on the front end of the website, but you would like to put admin orders in as them in case someone phones in or mails in a check. So you could do that using this event and observing that and changing the result to make it unavailable on the front end, but available on the back end. Another thing that the isAvailable function is using is this getConfigData. The getConfigData function is basically a wrapper, and it does a little bit of the work for us when pulling values from the system configuration. So it basically builds the path for us based on the code. So it's always going to look in the payment section and whatever group matches our code name, and then look for the field which is being passed to the config.data function. What this means is that all we have to do is add to our system.xml the appropriate fields. So this active field is going to be used in the isAvailable function when we're saying getConfigData active. Also, the title is going to be used when we're calling getTitle. And so these functions are called throughout the Magento core, and getConfigData essentially wraps this in system configuration fields. So the fields that I typically need in my system configuration are active, title, and order status. And order status is using a special config source. So this config source gives you the order statuses you can select from a dropdown that will be the status of any order coming in with this payment method. And typically it's either using the source for order status new or order status new processing. But if you look at the class this extends from, there's also a source of all the order statuses. And sort order is self-explanatory. There's actually one more field we need to add here. And I'm just going to copy it from the Mage Payment system, which is typically where you want to start when you're building your configuration for your payment methods. Okay. So what I need to copy over is the allow specific and specific country fields. Basically, these are telling Magento if you can use that payment method for the country that is in the billing address. And again, these use their own system config sources for specific countries or all countries. All right. So the last thing we need to do is add some defaults to our module's config file. In the bottom of the config, I added a default section. And you can see that the child tags match the config path. Payment, in person, and an active model, order status, title, allow specific group. So the model and group, these are, think of them as hidden config values. So the model, there isn't a field in our system.xml for model, but Magento needs to look at this default value in order to find your actual payment method model. And group is a way for Magento to specify either online or offline payment methods. I'm not quite sure exactly what this determines, but obviously in-person payment would be an offline transaction. So once we save this, we should be able to move to the front end now. So you can see I'm already in the checkout process and I've added an item to my cart. I'm just going to complete my billing information. And as I proceed through the checkout, on the payment information page, you'll see I now have my pay in person method available, and I can select it and continue and place my order. So there you have it, one of the simplest ways to create a custom payment method. So let's recap. Creating our payment model took 3 steps. First, we created the payment method, which extends from the Mage Payment Model Method Abstract class. Then we set up some system configuration fields in etc system.xml. These fields are accessible through the payment method model's getConfigData function, which comes in handy and is in fact used automatically throughout a lot of the Magento source code. Finally, we had to add some default values in etc config.xml, including a couple of hidden values which were explained in the video. Coming up next, we'll be adding a step in the checkout process, so stay tuned.